Hello there, and welcome to Talking Nerdy, the show where we take various story arcs and events from across comics and we cover them. I'm your host, Obi-Wan Jabroni. Now, on today's show, we'll be talking about the Hellfire Gala event. Now, the Hellfire Gala is a 12-issue crossover event across all X titles currently in play, except for Cable and Children of the Atom. It's the first Hellfire Gala we have seen since Dark Phoenix Saga in 1980. Where Jean Grey was revealed to be the new Black Queen of the Hellfire Club, and also Snaps becoming the Dark Phoenix. And with that, let's start talking nerdy. Opening up the gala event, we have Marauders number 21, written by Jerry Dugan, with arts by Matteo Lally, and colors by Edgar Delgado. Hellfire Gala Part 1. Welcome to the party. The Marauders have been sailing the high seas, protecting mutants and righting wrongs the world over, but Emma Frost has just thrown open the doors to the Hellfire Gala, and in one night, everything will change. Now, we open and we see Sebastian Shaw, Emma Frost, and Kate Pryde, who are the three leaders of the Hellfire Trading Company right now, standing next to a Krakoan gate, and Emma calls X-Force and tells them that if they're ready, they can begin letting in non-mutant guests. And our first guests to arrive are 6 of the Avengers: Captain America, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, Thor, Blade, and Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider. And we learned that non-mutants have to wear a Krakoan flower on their person somewhere to be able to get through the gates. And it also works as a ticket to any after party they may or may not be invited to. And next we get a quick montage of various guests arriving. We see the Fantastic Four with both their kids, Franklin and Valeria. We see Tony Stark, Doctor Doom, ambassadors from Russia, Madripoor in the UK, J. Jonah Jameson, who seems to be walking with Patton Oswalt. We'll see a few big celebrities just in the background through here. We see Conan O'Brien, Kevin Feige shows up at some point, and a slew of others. Now, the night goes on a little bit, and Emma takes the stage and telepathically sends a message out to everybody telling them that we're about to have a concert performed with the help of Jean Grey, who will send out not only the music, but the experience of a professional playing the music, so that it seems like the audience collectively is playing the song as an orchestra. And we get some beautiful panels, and most of the guests seem to like it, except for Doctor Doom, who brushes away the waves, and the Russian delegate, who just kind of humps. And we go on to a different part of the party, and we see 3 of the Marauders, Bishop, Iceman, and Pyro, sitting with an AIM agent and Shinobi Shaw, Sebastian's son. And they're sitting there and they're playing dice. And the Thing walks up and hollers, "What do you think you're doing?" And says that he's offended that no one asked the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing if he wanted to roll some bones. And he takes up the dice and tosses them off, yelling, "It's gambling time." Now, elsewhere in the party, we got Doom and Cap are standing together, and Emma comes over to join them. She tells Doom that there's no reason that Latveria and Krakoa shouldn't have a friendship like the rest of the nations of the world have. And that mutants are here to stay and don't plan on going anywhere. It ain't like they're trying to take over the Earth itself. Now, at that moment, a Shi'ar representative walks up to him, and he starts to congratulate Emma on the mutants' conquering of the Earth. And she goes red-faced instantly. And Doom busts out laughing, waves his hand, turns away, and just walks off in hysterics still. And the Shi'ar representative goes on to tell Emma that they have the package that she requested here with them right now. And Emma has no clue what they're talking about. But she don't tell them that. She calls her brother Christian instead to come meet with the Shi'ar and go collect whatever this package is. Now, as she walks away, she sends out a telepathic call to the rest of the Hellfire Club and tells them to all come into the back so they can have a toast before the big event kicks off. She toasts, saying, "Tonight we won't need to sell our medicines on the black market anymore. Tonight we're gonna bring the whole world together instead." And now we get a big time jump to sometime after midnight at the end of the party, and guests are starting to leave, stunned and amazed from something they have just seen that we don't know nothing about until later on in the story. Now, Scott and Cap are talking as they walk out. And Cap tells Scott that he's worried that they've made a big mistake, and he hopes that they know what they're doing. And Scott goes on to say that he does as well. And that ends the first issue. Taking us into X-Force number 20, written by Benjamin Percy, with arts by Joshua Cassara and colors by Guru EFX. Hellfire Gala Part 2, invite only. The Hellfire Gala, the most anticipated party of the year, where mutants and humans alike gather in celebration. But not everyone is raising their glasses in merriment. Away from the protection of Krakoa and mingling with guests and diplomats from all ends of the earth, each with their own history and aspirations towards the mutant community, X-Force has their hands full keeping the party safe. Now, we open at 7:40 p.m., right at the start of the gala, and guests are just starting to arrive, and we see Kid Omega is standing guard at the entrance gate. And Iron Man comes flying in, and Kid Omega tries to stop him, because he ain't got his flower on, and he ain't allowed to pass without it. And Tony says it didn't match his suit, and he isn't going to take orders from a kid, especially about a flower of all things. And that Kid Omega should try to worry about the dozens of other people who have walked by him since he stopped Tony. And Kid Omega just laughs and said he only needs 1% of his brain to deal with the likes of Tony, and that everyone else that's passed through has had their flowers on and has been checked out. He was scanning them the whole time they was there. Now, at this point, we switch over and we see Beast and Sage at the X-Force headquarters, and we learn that X-Force, all of X-Force is running security for this event. We got Kid Omega at the entrance gate, Wolverine on the coast, Domino's patrolling the party itself, and Sage is on the comms and control room, with Beast just mingling around, kind of running the whole operation. And we learn that Beast is up to something shady involving the Ambassadors of Terra Verde. Now, Terra Verde was introduced in X-Force issues 9 and 10, and that whole story leaded up to Beast secretly injecting the leaders of Terra Verde with a virus of some nature that comes from Krakoa that helps him control all their actions and helped lead to a friendship between Krakoa and Terra Verde itself for shipping. Now, we go on to later at 8:35 p.m., and we see the ambassadors of Terra Verde mingling and shaking hands with everybody. And we know it pans in, and we notice that every time they shake a hand or brush against somebody, there's this little green string vine thing that's almost not visible that passes from the Terra Verde ambassadors into the guests that they're mingling with. Now, we go over to 9:31 p.m. on the coast, and Wolverine's walking, and he starts to smell something and tells Sage that they have an incoming bogey from the coastline. And she calls Domino to come in to assist. Now, a shadow approaches floating on the water. And then Wolverine hacks his claws out and says, "You gotta be fucking kidding me," as we see that the floating object is Deadpool of all people. Now, he's wearing a duck pull float ring around his stomach, and he's got two kid floaty flamingos on his arms, as well as a snorkel and goggles. And he's carrying a giant-ass harpoon gun. Now, he comes up and he looks at Logan. He goes, "Hey, I heard you was having a party. And I'm kind of hurt that I wasn't invited. I'm an honorary mutant after all." Wolverine instantly attacks him, saying, "You can't be here, Wade. This is a diplomatic summit, not a keg party." And Wolverine pins Wade to the ground with his claws right through the top of his shoulder. And as he does this, Wade reaches down, pulls out both his pistols, and blasts Wolverine's eyes clear out of their sockets, and he tumbles backwards. Wade jumps up and starts to run away, asking if the party had, a ball pool, curly slide, strippers, and then if they'll be dancing the Macarena. Very Deadpool fashion, of course. Now, when out of nowhere, Domino lands on top of them. and yelling, "You don't fuck with the X-Force, Wade. You should know this," and shoots flames out of her special Krakoan weapon that she has on her gauntlets, and just burns Deadpool to a crisp laying there, telling him to suck it up. Think of this as a timeout for right now. And we switch over to Emma walking into the X-Force base where Sage is sitting. And she tells Sage that she knows about the Terra Verde virus and that you need to shut it down immediately. This will affect relations with all nations if it gets out. And Sage is freaking out a little bit. You can see it in her face and the way she's talking. And she tells Emma that she can't because the telephonic coding on the virus has been corrupted and someone was hacking it. Now, as this is happening, we also get to see that one of the Terra Verde ambassadors has went to the bathroom. And as he's washing his hands, the vines that we've seen passing to other guests earlier shoot up, engulfing him, making him turn into some sort of plant creature and ending our issue. And that takes us to Hellions number 12, written by Zeb Wells, with arts by Stefan Scovia, and colors by David Curiel. Hellfire Gala Part 3, Gate Crashing. You didn't get an invite to the Hellfire Gala? That makes sense. This is the most prestigious geopolitical event of the year. They can't just let anyone in. In fact, that's why half the Hellions weren't even invited. Who would trust those delinquents around the creme de la creme of mutant and human society? Sure, that might put an even bigger strain on the already fraught team dynamics, but that's the price of prestige. Now, we open at 7:29 p.m. at Mr. Sinister's base, Bar Sinister, and we see Sinister, Psylocke, and Havoc getting ready for the gala. And we also learn that the Hellions, Wild Child, Orphan Maker, Nanny, Grey Crow, Scalp Hunter for you older X-Men fans, and Empath are sitting there, and they ain't allowed to go. And Psylocke looks at him and says they should go train instead of moping around the base all night, and they leave for the gala. And we switch to 10:33 p.m., and Grey Crow's chugging a bottle of liquor, and he slams it to the ground and starts walking off, saying, "Fuck this, we're going to the party anyway." Over at the gala, Havoc's trying to talk to Professor X and get him to resurrect Madeline Pryor, who is Jean Grey's clone and also the Goblin Queen. And he's been trying to do this for essentially the entire Krakoan era to no avail. Anyway, the professor brushes it off, and he points behind Alex and says, "You shouldn't keep your friends waiting." And he turns to see the Hellions walking into the party. And he just hides his face and walks away in disgust. Now, we switch over, and Sinister's talking with Panther and Thor. And he's telling them that he's a geneticist, more of an artist, really, when they're interrupted by Nanny, who says, "Don't be modest, Nathan. You're also an abductor, an abuser, and murderer of children." And Black Panther and Thor immediately turn around and say, "I think I see someone over there," and they leave. Over at the bar, Draco joins Psylocke for a drink. And Kid Omega comes up to him and says that him and the rest of the Hellions are not supposed to be here, and they need to go home now. And Psylocke looks at Kid Omega and says that the Hellions are her +1. Why don't you go bother someone else? And not far from them is Orphan Maker, who is chilling with Empath and Wild Child. And Orphan Maker's trying to convince Empath to let him have some alcohol. When Wild Child looks over and sees his ex Aurora, who is North Star's sister, and he goes over and he asks her to dance, and she immediately shuts him down and turns and walks away saying sorry. And at that point, we switch back over to Havoc, who's now trying to convince Magneto to let them resurrect Madeline Pryor. But before Magneto can blow him off, they're interrupted by Polaris, who comes up, grabs Havoc, and drags him over towards the bar. Now, over at the bar, Wild Child has walked up, and he has now joined Grey Crow and Psylocke. And he's pissed, slams his fist down on the table, and says, "I need a drink now." And behind them, Orphan Maker lets out a giant, "Woohoo! This is great!" And Empaths start laughing, and he tells them that he used his powers to make Orphan Maker think and feel that he was drunk, but didn't actually get him drunk. Now, While seeing this, Grey Crow notices that Aurora is in another part of the gala and he can see her. And she's kissing Dakin, who is Wolverine's son. And he gets red-faced, lets out a yell, and charges over there saying, I challenge you. And they start fighting. Now, Grey Crow sees this, and he runs up and he tackles Wild Child to the ground. And Orphan Maker sees it all go down as well, yells out wrestle time, and runs over and jumps and making it a dog pile while yelling bananas really loud. Sorry, I got something in my throat, guys. And this just starts an all-out brawl. Nanny busts a champagne glass on the table and charges over to Mr. Sinister, saying, It's Judgment Day, motherfucker! Two mutants that are over next to Empath, Cat's Eye and Roulette, just start attacking him. Because honestly, he pisses off everybody at some point, and at any given moment, he should go somewhere expecting to get his ass kicked by at least one person. He's a douchebag. And Psylocke sees this, and she runs over, and she starts trying to help Grey Crow get out of the pit. Now, at that point, Magneto yells out, Enough! And he lifts all of the fighting Hellions into the air and sends them through a portal that magic has made. And we switch over to somewhere outside elsewhere on Krakoa, and the Hellions are walking home. And Nanny's being held by Orphan Maker. She's kicking and screaming, still screaming about wanting to cut off Sinister's head. And a kid runs by him saying, Hey, y'all are gonna miss the fireworks. And they all look up at the sky, and Grey Crow says that they don't see nothing, and we don't as a reader either. The sky's completely blank except for a few stars. And Psylocke sits there for a second. She goes, clever Emma. And she uses her psychic abilities to mind link all of them. And they look up at a sky in wonder and amazement. And Psylocke says, It makes you feel like anything's possible, don't it? But we as the reader, again, don't get to see these fireworks. And that ends the issue. Taking us into Excalibur number 21, written by Teenie Howard, with art by Marcus Toe, and colors by Eric Archianga. I hope that's right anyway. Hellfire Gala Part 4. Don't feel like dancing. Excalibur has been up to their elbows in mysterious and magical mutant affairs, from facing the nefarious Coven Akaba, determined to unseat Captain Britain, to a war in Otherworld that ended with the departure of one of their own. After all that, haven't they earned a night off? Now, Excalibur 21, while it does take place during and in the gala itself, it mainly has to do with their own story arcs. So we're just going to kind of skim through this, and I'll give you a quick bullet points of the gala-related issues in this. Now, Excalibur consists of Betsy Braddock, who's going by Captain Britain now, Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, and Richter. And Richter doesn't want to go to the gala. He thinks it's pointless. And later on in the night, we learn that Rogue gets put onto the new X-Men team that hasn't been unveiled yet and will be next issue. And we also learn that the UK has dissolved ties with Krakoa and Captain Britain. Now, other things in this issue that happen are only pertaining to their story arcs, like Coven Krakoa coming back, the resurrection of Morgan Le Fay, and Richter moping off away from the party and building a lighthouse in Apocalypse's honor. Other than that, nothing else happens in this issue, so we're just going to move on. And that takes us into X-Men number 21, written by Head of X, Jonathan Hickman, with arts by Lucas Wernick and colors by Frank Martin. Hellfire Gala Part 5, End of an Era. At the first Krakoa and Hellfire Gala, the mutant world is in flux while an election is about to be held to select the X-Men. The heroes of Krakoa, the new team, is far from the only change coming. Now, we open at 8:12 p.m., and we see Magneto and Professor X are talking to Namor. And they're trying to get him to join up with Krakoa, and they even offer him a seat on the leadership, the Quiet Council. And he says that he's a real king already, and he has dominion over 70% of the planet, not just one tiny island. And to get back with him when they have more to offer. And he walks away. And we go over to 10:15 p.m. Gene and Scott take the stage at the gala, and they say it's time to announce the new lineup for the X-Men team. And Jean tells the rooms to open their minds to her, and she picks and announces the team telepathically out to the crowd. Now, this new team is Rogue, Sunfire, Wolverine, but not Logan. It's X-23's Wolverine. Sync, Polaris, and as well as Jean and Scott themselves. And they announce it, and everyone comes up to the stage, and we get a real cool team pose from everybody. One big full panel. And at that point, we switch over to 11:35 p.m. Scott's at the bar, and he's approached by Kevin Feige, the head of all Marvel Studios, comics, and TV, all three divisions. And he walks up to Scott, and he asks Scott what his story is. Now, Scott's response, I'm just going to read to y'all. Well, it's complicated. I was blind to how the world worked, and then I met a man who taught me to see how things really were. I loved him for it, and because I loved him, because I believed in him, and in a way worshipped him, I claimed the things that we had faith in as my own. He called it his dream. It was a good one. But the world, you see, the waking world where we all live, it's a killer of dreams, a destroyer of things you believe in. So when I grew older, I realized it was foolish to defy him. Especially, it's unfair to expect that kind of perfection from anyone. After all, we're all flawed and imperfect. There is no real difference between any of us, no matter how much we believe the lie that there is. You see, he wasn't a savior. He was just a man, a mutant like me. And his dream, which still makes me smile to this day, are no more valid than anyone else's, including mine. I love the idea of that, the promise of it. So what's my story? I'm a dreamer. I'm an X-Men. You guys have a good night. And he walks away through the portal, through a gateway. And we switch over to 11:45. It's fireworks time yet again. And Emma takes the stage. And I'm going to read you her speech here, too, because it's a rather good one as well. And it's an interesting thing, an ending. Yes, it is often simply a matter of perspective. What seems to be an ending for you might be the beginning for someone else. Or more appropriately, what seems to be an ending of an occasion, let's call it a party, a gala even, might be the start of a new processing altogether, a second event unto itself. Expansion, if I must put a word to it. I'm going to connect all our minds now, all of us, human and mutant alike, as I want to offer you a unique view of the show. You can refuse, of course, but fair warning, this is one of those where were you win moments. And it would be a shame if being closed-minded made you miss it. So, with a deep breath, a soft exhale, and fireworks at the evening's end, which is not the end at all, but at the beginning of a new age. Now, as she says this new age part at the end, she reaches her hands up to the sky, and we see Mars glow in red get bigger and bigger and come closer to Earth. And we don't get to see it very well, but we see two silhouetted figures standing next to it, silhouetted by the glow of Mars itself. And that ends our issue. And that takes us to Planet-Sized X-Men One-Shot. Written by Jerry Dugan, with art by Pepe Larraz, and colors by Marte Gracia. Hellfire Gala Part 6. Fireworks. Krakoa's people, its friends, and its enemies are all gathered at the Hellfire Gala, promised to be the most consequential night in the shared history of mutant kind, and now, for the fireworks. And we open on the planet Mars, and Magneto is hovering in the sky, and he's sending down a massive meteor shower, meteors that are mainly made up of iron-based composites. and he sends them crashing onto Mars' surface. And we look over and we also see Hope Summers and Vulcan, who is Cyclops and Havoc's younger brother. And they're manipulating the planet's core so it becomes hotter and heavier, and so that the planet can once again sustain life. And we switch over again, and we see Hope and Proteus. And they're using their powers to help fast track the X factor, the X gene within the world itself, so that it can grow and support life and bring life to the dead planet once again. Now, at this point, we switch over to 4 days before on the island of Araco, sorry. Now, Araco is a second part of the island of Krakoa. Thousands of years ago, they got split from a war, and half of it, Akaro, went and it was transported to the other world reality, a different dimension entirely. And they are a brutal warrior race because of this, while, the thousands of years passed and we see how mutants of Earth have formed. Now, not too long ago, there was a tournament, the Ten of Swords event, and because of this, the island is back on Earth again, and it sits next to Krakoa and houses millions of new mutants. So anyway, we're on that island 4 days ago. And Magneto is talking to one of the leaders, Isco the Unbeaten. And they're talking about problems that they're having with humans. And Magneto says that instead of making war, how about we make something else instead? And we switched to on Krakoa 3 days ago, with Magneto meeting with the Hellfire Trading Company's leaders, Kate Pryde, Emma Frost, and Sebastian Shaw. And we learned that they're having problems with the humans as well, just involving medicines instead of war. And Magneto asked them if he can borrow the Hellfire's spaceship, the Mercury. And we switch again to 2 days ago, outside the old X-Mansion. And Captain America and Scott Summers are meeting up, and they're talking about how Cap tells him that humans are worried about Krakoa's recent expansion of the new island, and that they have millions of mutants, and they're worried about it. It makes them nervous. And 1 day ago, now we switch to the Quiet Council Chamber. Magneto says that they must grow if they are to have dominion over Krakoa. They must also have dominion over the Sol system itself. And we switch yet again to right above Earth just that morning. Magneto has recruited a team for his plans. Iceman, Hope Summers, Proteus, Jean Grey, Kid Omega, Elixir, Exodus, Vulcan, Jamie Braddock, and 3 Akroan mutants. Lactus the Knower, Subnuar of the Depths, and Xylo the First Defender. And we switch once again to Mars now. And we see Subnar walk up and he cuts his hand, but instead of blood flowing out of it, water starts to pour into a hole on the ground. And Jamie Braddock and Hope Summers are with him, and they start using their powers in tandem to help the water grow and spread in size, and they create oceans on the surface of Mars using this. Now, above them, we see Storm using the weather to start making the planet's entire climate and weather systems based off this water in the atmosphere they're trying to build now. While elsewhere on Mars, Magneto is sitting with Elixir and Xylo, the First Defender, and he tells Elixir that this planet once had life, and that he needs him to try to heal it so it can have life once again. And while he's doing this, Xylo breaks into these thousands of worm strands, I'm not sure what they are, it's wild looking, and dives into the soil, spreading the healed soil across the entire planet itself. And after Elixir finishes using his powers, they both take off their helmets, and Magneto says they don't need these anymore, and he walks away through the gateway. And on the other side of that gateway, he meets with Jean Grey, Exodus, and Lactuca, the other Akroan mutant. And using their combined powers, they move the entire island of Acro from Earth into a portal and send it flying, slingshotting through space. And it lands and rests in one of these new oceans upon Mars now, with all the millions of mutants still intact. Now, later we get a little bit of a montage of terraforming still, and later after the terraforming is complete and the planet supports life once again, we see Jean and Kid Omega, and they're telling Jamie that it's time for the final parts of the plan, and they both touch out to his mind, telling him to give birth to this plan using his powers. And he takes it literally, and his stomach begins to glow purple and grow to a massive size at a super fast rate. And a giant metal building bursts from his chest and continues to grow. Now, once it gets out of his chest, Jean uses her power and she sends it up to the atmosphere around Mars, and it starts rotating the planet. And we learn that this is the second sword space station that the mutants shall control in the Sol system now. Now, in the new capital of the planet, Lake Hellas, Storm approaches Magneto, and she's carrying a gateway flower. And she gives it to him, and he plants it down. And once it grows, a slew of mutants start walking through the gate, and Magneto welcomes them all to the new planet Arakko. And that ends our issue. And that leads us into New Mutants number 19, written by Vita Alia, with arts by Alex Lenz and colors by Matt Mila. Hellfire Gala Part 7, Party of the Century. The New Mutants have been tasked with training the youth of Krakoa, teaching them to use and combine their mutant abilities, but basic training isn't working for everyone. A group of young mutants have fallen in with the Shadow King, though Scout becomes suspicious of his motives. Tonight, though, none of that matters. It's time to party with all of Krakoa at the Hellfire Gala. Now, this is another story that, while it takes place at and during the gala, it doesn't have much to do with it directly, so we're just going to do another quick bullet point rundown for this issue. Now, through most of this issue, we see Warlock moping around the party, and he's lost without his buddy Doug, who is constantly with him up until this point, because Doug just recently got married in the Ten of Swords event. Now, he's following various members of the New Mutants around, and he keeps mimicking their outfits and trying to find a new, just best self friend to hang out with at this party, to no avail. Now, at other parts of the party, we see Wolverine, X-23, not Logan again, and through a lot of the party, she's asking around, trying to figure out where her sister Gabby is. She hasn't seen her all night. And no one knows, no one has seen her. But at the end of the issue, a group of kids that are trained with New Mutants themselves find Gabby dead, laying in some weeds right outside the gala. And that ends the issue. Next up, we have X-Corp number 2, written by Teenie Howard, with arts by Alberto Foch, and colors by Sonny Go. Hellfire Gala Part 8, Shark in the Water. The Hellfire Gala is the exclusive event of the year, but make no mistake, while others may be taking the opportunity to enjoy the free champagne, capitalism waits for no man. And mutants are not an exception. With the premature launch of X-Corp, Monet and Angel must fill the remaining seats of the board as soon as they can with the best candidates available to them. After all, there aren't just potential comrades here, but competitors as well. Now, we open in their Krakoan kitchens at 7:30 p.m., and we learn that Multiple Man is running all the catering and drinks for the gala. And as he's given his final commands, he leaves and hurries off so he can walk into the gala with his fellow X-Corp board members, Monet and Angel. Now, The rest of this entire issue is essentially just Monet and Angel interviewing mutants to try to fill out the rest of the X-Corp board of directors. They interview Sunspot, Selena, formerly the Black Queen, the Strucker twins Fenris, and Mastermind. And the only one they recruit is Mastermind himself. And that ends our issue. Leading us into Wolverine number 13, written by Benjamin Percy, with art by Scott Eaton, and colors by Matthew Wilson. Hellfire Gala Part 9. What They Did in the Shadows. The Hellfire Gala is the most prestigious geopolitical event of the year, with high-profile guests from both mutant and human societies alike, necessitating the best security team available, X-Force. While Wolverine, Sage, Domino, Kid Omega, and Beast may be able to easily ward off would-be party crashers like Deadpool, the evening suddenly takes a turn for the worst when Beast's telephonic programming of the Terraverdian ambassadors fail. With the realization that the mutants has been controlling and spying on their nation, the Terravarians now seek revenge, putting the partygoers and the entire nation of Krakoa at risk. Now, we open at 10:04 p.m. in the security room, and Sage tells X-Force that a terrorist cell has hacked the Terra Verde ambassadors, and now they are about to wreak havoc on the party. And we go to 11:01 on the gala floor. We see an older guy named Herbert, and he's drunk off his ass, and his wife comes up to him and asks him to dance. And he says he has to go to the bathroom first. So he walks on to the bathroom, and while in there washing his hands and face, in the sink, the plant monster from X-Force 20 bursts up and attacks him and starts wrapping its vines around him and another guest that was in the bathroom, trying to make them hosts for more plant creatures. And they're interrupted by Wolverine, who says this bathroom's closed for service, and pops his claws and charges at the creature. Meanwhile, over on a different piece of the gala floor, Beast sees the other Terra Verde ambassador, and he sees her taking another guest behind a curtain. And he immediately takes off after her. And he makes it just in time, making it behind the curtain as she shoots vines out of her arm and starts to try to make him a host as well, and tackles her to the ground and restrains her. And before the guest that was getting attacked can run off, Kid Omega, who was nearby as well, mind wipes his whole memory of the events, and he walks off thinking nothing happened and just goes on about his way in the party. Back in the bathroom, the Wolverine and the Ambassador are fighting, and the Ambassador says he don't know how the Krakoan control was broke, but they have control again, and that they may have came here political prisoners, but they will leave revolutionaries. And we switch to 50 kilometers off the Crowan coast on the ship the Marauder. And we see Kristen Frost, who's transporting the Shi'ar logic crystals that was gifted to the Hellfire Company earlier in the story. And he's driving the boat, and he's killed from an unknown assault from behind. And he is thrown overboard. And the mystery killer gets in the driver's seat and drives the boat away. We don't get to see who this is. Now, over on the Krakoan beaches, we see Domino fighting more of the plant creatures, who are trying to escape through the Krakoan gate to get off the island and spread, we assume. And she's fighting them, and Deadpool, out of nowhere, now mostly recovered from his burns, shows up with a bazooka and guns and starts blasting and helping Domino fight off these plant creatures. And they fight, and we switch to the security room. Over in the security room, Beast walks in, and he's carrying the restrained ambassador that he took down. Oh, sorry. And he tells Sage to use the ambassador to try to fix Krakoa's connection to the Terra Verde ambassadors. And she says no, it was a mistake to begin with, and we should rectify it, not make it worse. And he starts to argue, but she interrupts him by bitch smacking him and saying she's going to fix this herself. Now get the hell out of my office. And at that point, we switch to later in the night, 10:07 a.m. at the Gala Bar. And Terra Verde and Krakoa have made amends and have came up with a deal. They are in control of themselves now and skeptically don't start working with Krakoa. And we see Wolverine having a drink at the bar with one of the ambassadors from the bathroom. And Thor, Thing, and Invisible Woman are also there. And Domino comes in, and she's with Deadpool, and she joins them. And Deadpool asks as they all start to make a toast to the night, who wants to be Body Shots. And we switch once again to 1:20 in the morning on a balcony after everyone has started to clear out and the fireworks have ended. And Emma tells Beast to explain himself about mind controlling a country right now. And I'm just going to read this part for you from Beast. He says, as Voltaire said, there is no God, but don't tell that to my servant, lest he murder me at night. Krakoa is more than a nation. It's a god. How am I being ridiculous? The treaty requires people to be servile to us. They are rewarded for their fealty. Krakoa is a god, and if you want people to believe in you and to fear you as a god, you need to be omnipotent. We need to be able to hear all the prayers and blasphemies. We need to spy. Is it any worse than terraforming a planet to mind control a country, Emma? Our long-term goal is survival, remember? You and your quiet council can sit in your sunlit circle and debate amongst yourself the correct committee decisions. But Charles knew from the very beginning, the hardest decisions will be made in the shadows. And he says, I may be a bastard, and I'll be a bastard. I'll take the blame. I'll earn the hate, if that's what saves us from annihilation. And at that point, they're interrupted by Sage on the comms, who tells Emma that they get a report from Madripoor that their ship, the Marauder, was in Madripoor's bay, and it was in fire, and Christian was nowhere around. And that ends our issue. Next up is Sword number 6, written by Al Ewing, with arts by Valero Chieti, and colors by Marte Garcia. Hellfire Gala Part 10. This is what comes next. Krakoa promised that the Hellfire Gala would be a night to remember. They did not exaggerate. As humanity's representatives watched mutantkind terraform and claim Mars, the fourth planet of the Sol system, the night isn't over. We open at 1:10 a.m. after the fireworks have ended and everyone clears out on the Krakoan beach. And we see Cap standing, and he's staring out over the ocean. And he's approached by Doctor Doom, who asks Cap for his thoughts. And Cap says that when he came out of the ice, the world had changed so much, and Tony Stark showed him videos of man walking on the moon. And he had felt hope again. And tonight, he believed in a better world, and that we could build it together. And Doom leaves him saying that the day will come when Cap needs his help, and that he won't have to throw a gala to show his support. And with that, we switch to Sword Station 1 above Earth. And we see the head of Sword, Abigail Brand, has called a Galactic Diplomatic Summit with representatives from the Galactic Rim Collective, Great Chimelia, House of Ragel, Zarek Empire, the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, the Kree Skrull Alliance, Shi'ar Empire, Spartax, the Utopian Kree Empire, and Earth's representative Richard Rider Nova. And Brand is offering a new alloy called Mysterium that only Krakoa can produce throughout the whole galaxy. And she says it has strength equal to adamantium. It has 100% electric conductivity, stronger than any ship's hull that's now, and smaller and lighter. And it has magnetic properties as well. And she offers it to the galactic civilizations only if they recognize planet Akroa and the Sol System as the Sol System's capital, and they recognize the Sol System on the galactic political scale. And she asks if there's any further questions. And a portal opens up over on the other side of the room, and Doom walks through, and he asks why he should care, and he gives a speech. As for you, Brand, I'm waiting for my answer. You say Sol is now a true system, a political entity, like Rigel or Spartax or the Throne World. Earth could never function as such, you claim, because it is divided. None can truly speak for the whole planet. And then you imply that Mars is different, united, that it speaks with one voice. Doom would hear that voice. You are a planner at heart, Brand, a map maker for great journeys, but I speak of a true north, the foundation upon which all your plans will crumble. Who rules your new planet? Tell me his name. Who is the king of Mars? Who would speak for Sol? And Brand says that that can be done, and Manifold opens a portal, and a voice comes from it. Victor, you know my name. You have all whispered it. It's Windrider. It's she who swam with Ashanti. It is Hadre Yao. I am Storm, region of Mars, and I am the voice of Sol. So Storm is the new queen of Mars, the capital of the entire Sol system. And at that point, we switch to 3:17 a.m. on a balcony. Everything's dark, all the lights are out, and we're on the gala floor still. And Magneto's alone, and he's drinking. When Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, approaches him saying that she got his invitation, but she was worried about coming, so she showed up late. Now, Wanda isn't a mutant anymore in canon. We have found out that she's called the Great Pretender, and she has been shunned by all Krakoa. Most of Krakoa hates her. There's ghost stories about her because of the events of House of M wiping out most of the mutants. And more recently in Empire, when she raised the undead army of all the Genosian people that was slaughtered and was trying to take over the world with them. She's not been right in the head recently. Anyway, she says that she was worried about coming. And at this point, I'm going to read from Magneto for you. And he says, Wanda, did I ever tell you of my Anya? No, probably not. The iron door never opened. She had eyes like yours, hair like auburn leaves, my beautiful child. The humans killed her, of course. I didn't even know I was a mutant then. We were humans at the mercy of humans. Prey for their system, their societies, and now I find myself the great mutant hero. I run our system, govern our societies. I helped build a world today. And I was happy for the children. And then I thought of my children and how I failed them. All of them. And she says, Magnus, I'm not really your... And he interrupts her saying, I know, but sometimes what is real is not the same as what is true. And sometimes it takes two to pretend. You are my daughter, Wanda, and you will always be my daughter, and I will do what I must to make things right. And they embrace in a hug, ending our issue. That takes us into Way of X number 3, written by Cy Spurrier, with arts by Bob Quinn and colors by Java Tartaglia. Hellfire Gala Epilogue 1, Joy of X. Mutant kind has a new home, Krakoa, an island of wonders where sins are absolved and the future is bright, or so it seems. In truth, something is rotten in the hearts and minds of mutants. Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, is working to unite Krakoans before they spiral into anarchy and horror. Among his allies is Legion, Professor X's dangerously powerful son, who has identified the entity secretly exploiting mutant divisions. It's Onslaught, a terrifying foe from X-Men's past. Yet Nightcrawler's first challenge lies not in facing this implacable villain, but in making it through the night of socializing in high faction without blurting the terrible truth. Welcome to the Hellfire Gala. Now, this is another one that doesn't have much to do with the gala directly, and more just the way of X story arc. So, bullet points yet again. Now, Nightcrawler's getting absolutely shit-faced throughout the whole gala and ranting on about the 3 laws of Krakoa. Make more humans, make more mutants, kill no humans, and respect the sacred land. Now, we learned that there was a after party on the planet Akro, and at this party, Onslaught corrupts the mutant known as Lost, and Pixie, the Zorn twins, Legion, Stacy X, and Nightcrawler team up to take it down and to save her. And that's all that happens in this issue as far as the gala goes. And that takes us to our final issue, X Factor 10. Written by Leah Williams, with arts by Lucas Wernick, and colors by Israel Silva. Hellfire Gala Epilogue 2, Finale. X-Factor has been investigating dead and missing mutants, thus ensuring their resurrections. Most recently, that included Siren's multiple unusual deaths at the hands of Morgan, the goddess of death. With the aid of Shatterstar now freed from the Mojoverse, the Morgan was defeated. But before she departed, she bestowed upon Shatterstar a strange gift. Meanwhile, Progeny has been working in a secret to solve a murder his own, but now it's time for the party of the year. Now, this issue not only acts as the epilogue finale for the Hellfire Gala, but it is also the final issue of the X-Factor run in general. So a lot of it is tied up tying in their story arcs and lines, and not a lot with the Gala directly. So, we have Progeny who's hunting down, and he finds the man who killed him back at the very beginning of the Krakoan era itself. And they defeat him. And moving on towards the end of the book, at 4:04 a.m., way at the end of the night, we have Progeny and Eyeboy leaving the party with Speed, who is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch's son, and also Progeny's boyfriend. And as they're walking out, they see feet sticking from the bushes, and Speed rushes over to find his mom laying dead in the weeds, same as Gabby was earlier. And the whole issue ends with Logan standing over Wanda's body, with Professor X, Beast, Jean, Scott, and Magic with him, and asking where Magneto was. And that not only ends the Hellfire Gala, but gives us hints and leads towards a future event in the X-Books, the Trials of Magneto. I hope you enjoyed our coverage of the X event Hellfire Gala. Join us next week where we talk about Star Wars High Republics number 1 through 5, There Is No Fear. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment below. Feedback is always welcome. You can also follow us on the Facebook page, Jabroni Nerd Network, and on Twitter at Jabroni Nerd. Thanks for watching, and remember, friends, stay sweaty and keep talking nerdy. I'll see you next week.